everyone, I'm Elaine. Welcome to my channel, Handful of Daisies DIY. Happy Mother's Day to all of the beautiful moms out there. I hope you're having a wonderful day. In this week's project, we're going to be taking thrifted items, of course, and creating some risers. We're going to take two different pieces and making them one. So if you're new to my channel, I hope you'll hit that subscribe button and notification bell so you can follow us on our DIY journey. If you're already subscribed, I hope you're finding inspiration in all of the projects we've done so far. We have many more to come. So if you're ready, let's get started. So for our first riser, we're going to use this silver tray that I picked up at the thrift store. I really love the handles and it's really heavy. And for the base, we're going to use this silver piece. I believe it was the bottom of maybe a tea or coffee carafe. And I'm going to use E6000 and a little hot glue to hold it together. Now this riser is the easiest one. I'm not going to paint it at all. I'm going to leave it the silver and the gold. These two pieces match really well. They are pretty dirty and they did come from the thrift store, so I'm going to use these Clorox wipes just to clean it up really well. And to get those stickers off, I'm going to use just a razor blade that I picked up at the Dollar Tree. They come in, I think, 3 to a pack for $1. And they work really well to get these stickers off. And on the back there was also a piece of packing tape, and it looked like it had been there for a really long time. So it was a little bit harder to get off. Finally scraped it down enough where I was able to wipe it off. Now I normally don't measure, but I wanted to try to get this as much in the center as possible. So I'm just taking a marker and making dots just so I know where to put it back. And I'm going to use the E6000 and a little hot glue. So I'm leaving spaces in between the E6000 for the hot glue because you don't want to put that right on top of each other. Now you will find that hot glue and metal don't work that great together. You'll see it did come apart, so I had to turn it back over and push it back down and hold it for a few minutes. I was a little impatient and picked it up too quickly. So I'm going to try to add a little bit more hot glue around the edges. So once the E6000 dries completely, I'll go back and just pull off that excess hot glue. So I'm going to add a transfer to this as well. I picked up these transfers for my last project, my furniture project, and I really love these flowers. So I thought I'd try them on these risers as well. I wasn't sure how well it was going to stick to the metal, but I thought I would try it anyway. It ends up sticking really well. And these transfers come with this little tool to use to scrape down on the top. So you just want to pull that back really slowly, and then I'm going to take the back of that paper and just burnish it on. And I thought that turned out really well. Now for our second riser, we're going to be using this platter and this bulky candle holder. These are two items that I showed in my thrift store haul video. If you haven't seen that video, I'll link that below for you. So again, these did come from the thrift store, so I'm going to clean them up really well with the disinfectant wipe. And all the items from the thrift store seem to come with 4 or 5 different price tags on them. I'm going to dry that up really well. And we're going to use E6000 and hot glue on this one as well. Again, just making sure to leave space in between the E6000 to put the hot glue so you're not putting it on top of each other. And then I'm gonna just place that on and just try to make sure I have it as even as possible. I'm going to let it set for just a few minutes to make sure that hot glue dries. And then I'm going to take it outside and paint it with Krylon chalk paint in the color mink. And once that dries, I'm going to bring it back in and add some Mod Podge to the top. I'm doing this just to make sure that my transfer sticks on to the top really well. It normally doesn't stick to the paint. So I'm just going to do the same thing, use the tool to scrape it on there really well. And then I'm going to pull it back really slowly, just to make sure everything's down all the way. And if it's not, I'm just going to scrape it a little bit more. Then again, I'm just going to burnish that on by using the back of the paper. And then I'm going to go ahead with the Mod Podge and do the whole top. That way it seals in the paint and the transfer. Now I put a pretty good coat of Mod Podge on there. You don't have to use as much as I did, but I wanted to make sure that it was sealed really well. Now our next riser, I'm going to be using this charger I picked up at the Dollar Tree, and then this candle holder that I picked up at the thrift store. And I'm going to do the same thing with this one. I'm using E6000 and hot glue. And just to make sure it sticks really well, it's best just to go ahead and let that E6000 dry overnight before you go any further. Now I'm going to take this outside and spray paint it in the Krylon white chalk paint. And once it's dry, I'm going to bring it back in and put a coat of the Waverly clear wax on the top, just to seal the paint in. And I'm not going to put a transfer on this one. I decided I was going to try to make this one look like an enamel. So I'm going to use the Waverly chalk paint and ink, and I'm going to go around the edges and just hit some of the edges. And then on this charger, there were raised edges all the way around. So I wanted to highlight those as well. And then I'm just going to make some marks around it just to look like it's an enamel, a chipped enamel. So I'm going to do it on the top and on the bottom. Now I have never done the enamel look before, so tell me in the comments below what you think. Does it look anywhere near enamel? I'm not really sure. I'm going to put that one to the side, and we're going to work on our very last riser. On this one, I'm just using a wood round. I picked this up at Lowe's. It's just a 12-inch wood round. And I'm using the black chalk paint and ink from Waverly. I get my Waverly paint at Walmart. And then I'm just going to take a baby wipe and smooth it down because I didn't want the paint to be really thick. And then I'm going to take a little water and wet down the baby wipe. And that's going to give the bottom just more of a stained look. And I'm going to put that to the side. And this is the second chunky candle holder that I picked up at the thrift store that I showed on my thrift haul. And I'm going to paint this in the black ink Waverly chalk paint as well. So I'm just giving it a good even coat, and then I'll let that dry, and then I'll go back and put a second coat. And I did start painting on the top, and then I realized I didn't need paint on the top because I'm going to be gluing that part, so I wiped that off. And I'm just going to touch up a few spots that I missed on the first coat. So I decided on this riser I was going to use another transfer. And this one was a little bit bigger, but like I said, I love these transfers. These flowers are so pretty. Again, you're just going to peel it back really slow to make sure that everything's adhered. And I love how this turned out on the black wood. So on this one, I'm going to take the Waverly clear wax and just give it a good coat on the top just to protect the top. And I did go a little bit crazy pouring out the clear wax, so I tried to put a little bit back in. So now I'm going to do the same thing to the base. And as I'm putting the clear wax on, it is taking off a little bit of the black chalk paint, which at first I was a little worried about, but then I realized that it looked really good. It just made it look a little old and chippy. So some things turn out for the best without you even trying. So of course I'm impatient, so the base hasn't dried yet, but I'm going to go ahead and use my E6000 and put the wood round on top. And as you can see, I didn't measure it. I'm just kind of eyeballing it to make sure it turned out right. And here's a look at how they all turned out. Let me know in the comments below which one's your favorite. Would you have done them any differently? I'd love to know. Now I did add a little distressing on the first one, and I didn't show that. But I thought they all turned out really pretty. I hope you enjoyed this DIY. Let me know in the comments below which one was your favorite. Don't forget, you'll also find me on Facebook and Instagram at A Handful of Daisy's Home Decor. If you haven't subscribed, don't forget to hit that subscribe button and notification bell. We have many more projects coming up.